Somebody asked me to talk about health insurance. They're autistic and worried about navigating our health insurance system in the US. Hi, I'm Brown. I'm autistic and chronically ill, and my financial life collapsed last year. I went from making over $100,000 a year at my fancy girl job where I could just pay for my own health insurance as a freelancer to having $70,000 in credit card debt and a mortgage that I couldn't pay for and owing back taxes to the IRS, all while going through autistic burnout, adrenals that would no longer function. Here's what I can tell you about what I've learned about being autistic in our health insurance system. I have had to operate at my capability level. So when you say, I don't know how to find a full-time job that will pay for my health insurance at my capability level as an autistic person, I say, no, you must operate at your capability level and then figure it out from there. And I think autistic people get in this mode where everyone outside of us has always been telling us that we are more capable than we actually are. They can't see any disability in us, so they have held us to the same standards of people who have way different brains. And we tend to internalize it and say, well, how am I going to survive in this society? I'm just going to have to force myself. I would not encourage you to work full-time if you feel you can't. I would start at whatever level you think you can function. And especially what's going to be best for your nervous system. Do you need to have a slow morning? Do you prefer to work overnight? As long as you're getting enough rest and you're feeling like you can function, you can sleep whatever schedule you want. Most of our health insurance system is tied to full-time work. That is one of the ways that they make us wage slaves in this country. It is one of the ways that we are coerced to go along with the status quo. And the status quo just doesn't really work for autistic people. So I would encourage you to be at your capability level and ask the system to meet you where you are at. Here is some of the ways that looked for me. So when I went through my burnout, I completely stopped paying my health insurance. I just said, I'm canceling it. Thank you very much. After a while, I got a job at a coffee shop. I was working like 15 hours a week, and so I had income verification, and I made too much money to get Medicaid, but I was able to get a very cheap plan with healthcare.gov. So if you choose the making very, very little money option, you might be able to access a cheap healthcare plan, but you also won't be able to pay for anything else. I decided to go that way. I was like, I'm going to live a super cheap life. I got rid of my car. I was going to live a very low rent lifestyle. But where I'm at with that now is I don't work at the coffee shop anymore, and I may have made too much money this year. And when I file my taxes, they may say, you owe us $8,000 for all the premiums we paid for you. And I have not really used the health insurance because I can't really navigate the healthcare system. So does it really do me any good? And that's been the story most of my adult life, is that going to the doctor is such a gaslighting experience that I actually avoid the doctor, and making the appointments and showing up to the appointments just takes way too many spoons, that I almost seek no healthcare, even though I'm chronically ill. And so I'm paying $400 a month, essentially for the luxury of not having to pay $1 million if I get in a car accident. And I don't think that I would take that deal anymore. I think that in this next phase, if I don't qualify for any sort of cheap healthcare option, I think that I probably won't have health insurance again. Because it's not worth it to me to pay into a system to essentially not die if I have an extreme case. That is like paying a mob boss to not come and beat you up. It is a cartel system that we have in this country. The nice thing for me is that I tend to see naturopaths and functional medicine practitioners now, which don't usually take insurance anyway. My experience with my chronic illness is that it's always been helped more by natural medicine anyway. And guess what? Those doctors believe me way more too. And so when you go to a naturopath and you say, hello, I'm cash pay, they will give you discounted rates. So when I go to the doctor, I pay $300 to just see the doctor. And so I do a lot of preventative care and nutrition on my own. I do a lot of my own research because I do pay out the ass when I go to see the doctor. When I get blood work done, there's actually a lot of online systems where you can order your own blood work now. So I circumvent going to the general practitioner and going through that gaslighting experience of them telling me that I don't need the thyroid tests that I'm saying I need, when the normal thyroid tests that they run in Western medicine don't detect the right levels that you're supposed to get tested when you actually read the right books. Anyway, so I pay cash pay for most of my healthcare now. Now and then I need a test that's $500, $700. The way that I dealt with that last year is I put it on my credit card because I knew that I was going to be filing for bankruptcy. So it was a unique situation where the timing was right. I think that a lot of these healthcare barriers, financial barriers, are not functional barriers. They're actually more of moral barriers for people. So if you absolutely needed the care, if you ended up in an emergency room, they would save your life and then send you a bill. And you can deal with that bill in post. Once you are better, you can say, hey, I'll set up a payment plan with you. I can only afford $50 a month. They will only make you pay at your capability level. No one is going to show up at your house and take you to jail because you couldn't pay your hospital bill. Also, I have not experienced a medical bill that shows up on my credit report. So my experience is that medical debt has not really affected me much. If you want to talk about it just from a functional point of view, if I really needed to get blood work done, I could just go to a different lab every time and accrue debts with each lab. Quest Diagnostics might not do my lab work again if I don't pay my $500 bill, but I bet you LabCorp would. This is capitalism. This is healthcare as a business. And people are morally incentivized not to behave like this because it's shisty behavior. It would be shisty behavior if you were doing it to your friend, for example. But this is capitalism, and they are coercing us and forcing us in their own ways. And I encourage people to do whatever they need to do in order to benefit themselves and navigate this jungle gym that is capitalism. You don't need to guilt trip yourself for going into medical debt, for not being able to pay for health insurance if you don't have a full-time job. You have a disability, and you got to do what you got to do. But the first thing is to operate in your capability level and figure everything else after that. The autistic people before us who operated outside their capability level, operated in survival mode, have set us up with this system. And we need to fight back against it. And we need to be in the streets and advocating for universal health care. One of the things that I've been remembering lately is that we actually do them a favor when we don't take part in their system. So I may feel that I'm getting away with something or gamifying capitalism because I don't interact with it that much and I won't deal with traditional systems that much. But the truth is, if we don't become a problem for them and we don't speak up and we don't organize, they will happily do their capitalism. And they will continue to exploit the populace who are increasingly disabled and increasingly autistic and increasingly full of chemical contaminants, getting metabolic syndrome in record numbers. I don't think that anybody feels good in this system. And there are not really good answers for people. But hopefully I've answered your question. You can pay directly for your healthcare. And that's what I would suggest, is going with a direct pay doctor. You can find direct pay hospitals. I remember researching one in Texas. I don't know if every state has them, but that's a way to sort of subvert this cartel system. But in the long term, we need to advocate for the energy levels that we have, which are low, and we need to change the system because it's not taking care of us. It's not allowing us to heal. This is not a healthcare system, it's a business. And that is how I have navigated it so far. I hope that it gives you some hope.